Association of University Women is a nonprofit or nonpartisan and nonprofit group. And beginning in 2006, every election year, we started hosting a candidates forum. Our goal is to present a balanced and informative platform that will serve to educate the public on the current candidates and their views. All questions came from the community. So due to the COVID restrictions in place, we are hosting only candidates that are running in contested races. The forum is broken into 3 sessions. The first will be our Morgan Hill Unified School Board Area 5 trustee race. The second is the Morgan Hill City Council District C. And then the third is Morgan Hill City Council District A. Candidates will be given a 1-minute opening statement and a 1-minute closing statement. And in between, the response to questions will be limited to 1.5 minutes with a timer notifying them when 1 minute is up and when they have 10 seconds left. And now I'd like to turn things over to our moderator, Ria Deshpande, who is a member of our AAUW Young Women Leaders.
Part 1 of tonight's forum features candidates running for the Morgan Hill Unified School District Trustee Area 5. We'll begin the forum with a 1-minute opening statement by each candidate. Then we will ask each candidate the same 5 questions. After each candidate has been asked a question, the timer will start, indicated by a colored flag. A green flag tells a candidate that they have 90 seconds left to answer the question. A yellow flag will appear when there are 30 seconds left to answer the question. A red flag will appear when there are 10 seconds left to answer the question, and a black flag will appear when we are 10 seconds over for that designated question. At this point, the candidate's microphone will be muted to indicate that the candidate has run out of time. After the questions have all been answered, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide a closing statement. So now we will begin with the opening statements, starting with Ms. Teresi.
Are you ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening. I am Pam Teresi, and I'm running for Trustee Area 5. I have lived in Morgan Hill the biggest part of my life. We moved here when I was 14 in 1965. I grew up here. I graduated from Live Oak. My son went through the system, and he graduated from Live Oak in 1987. So I've been here a long time. I've seen California, I've seen it grow too, but I've seen the Bay Area grow, Morgan Hill grow, and the school district. I went to work for Morgan Hill Unified in 1980. I was hired originally to work at Britain in the math lab, which grew into the math and computer lab. Later on, I moved to Paradise Valley School, and I worked with special ed students. And I was there for 20-something years. After that, I went on to Live Oak, and that's where I retired from. So during that time, I also was involved in my union as a negotiator and a leader, and I worked on budgets. And I was a team player. We got things done as a team. And I can be a leader, as I have been in the past, but I can also be a team player. And I have every confidence that I am a really good candidate, and I would hope that I get your vote. Thank you.
I'll take that as my cue to go. So good evening, everyone. My name is Ivan Rosales Montes, and I am running for Morgan Hill Unified Trustee Area 5 because I love Morgan Hill and I care deeply about our community and education. My father worked in the fields, my mom was a waitress, and they instilled in me the value of hard work and the value of education. Through the support of caring community members and teachers, I was the first in my family to go to college at UC Santa Barbara, go Gauchos. And upon graduating, I had the opportunity, I earned a Fulbright fellowship, which took me abroad. I learned from international educators and students from across the globe. And it's that experience that I brought to the classroom as a teacher, where I worked firsthand with students in the classroom. I loved it. Education, I found it to be my calling, but I also saw some of our realities of ensuring that we're challenging our most advanced students and then supporting our students in need. And it's those challenges that I tackled head on as a district administrator, providing strong academic programming across an entire district. I earned my doctorate in education from the University of Pennsylvania, where I learned alongside some of the leading practitioners across the United States. And it's that experience that I bring to my school site, where I'm the proud principal of a public elementary school, where I have firsthand experience leading distance learning amid the pandemic. And it's this experience that I would bring to represent you as trustee for the Morgan Hill Unified School Board. And I hope to earn your vote and support.
The first question is addressed to you, and it's asked, how should educators monitor themselves to verify that children are not being subjected to ethnic, cultural, or racially biased treatment in their schooling? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Well, that is a difficult question, because people, it's very hard. I will say it's very hard. I just listened to the court thing yesterday morning, and listening to some of the responses there. And you have to take a good hard look at yourself about things like that and make sure that you don't have cultural biases in order to recognize cultural biases. I grew up here in in San Jose, and then in Morgan Hill here, the biggest part of my life. And I will say that there have been times that there's been a real ethnic bias here. But I think Morgan Hill is better. And to monitor yourself, you have to do a check on yourself, on what you're saying, how you're reacting. Are you reacting differently, or saying, even by your tone, not by words, by tone, how you're responding and reacting to the students that are in your care, which is how I see things, is from the classroom. And I've worked with a lot of different students. When I was at Britain in the math and computer lab, part of my day was spent with bilingual students. And of course, in all my classes, we had the Hispanic students, and working with them and caring with them. And you, like I said, you must monitor yourself to make sure that you're not giving off anything that your other students will pick up on. And hopefully you don't have anything like that. But if you do, you need to make sure that you probably don't belong in education, I guess. But anyway, you need to pay attention, because children and other adults pick up on your vibe, and they will feel like.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. We are over this time for this one question, but thank you for your.
I didn't see any colors.
Yeah,
I know, we're having technical problems.
Okay, that's fine. Hard to monitor when you don't know it's your time limit. Okay, good enough.
We will now be asking the same question to Mr. Montes, and I will repeat it. How should educators monitor themselves to verify that children are not being subjected to ethnic, cultural, or racially biased treatment in their schooling? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Thank you for the question. As a public school principal, this is something that I worked with my school community directly. I led a year-long scope and sequence on social justice and equity to support educators and practitioners to be self-reflective and think about how our educational spaces and what we're creating in the classrooms. I think first and foremost, it starts with ourselves, taking the time to reflect on our own educational experience, reflecting on that, and then building trust and community so that we can have the culture and the trust to share and have conversations and receive feedback from colleagues in our community. Part of this is making it a point to engage our students, communities, and families. I'm committed to ensuring that we provide our community an educational experience that humanizes them, where they can be themselves on the school campus. And I know that part of that is speaking and engaging students in conversations and families to understand what are their realities. And we all come with our own experiences and our own socialization, which impacts how we see things and what we don't see. And I think here, as we have to build a community of care where we can have the space to reflect on this, and it impacts our actions in the classroom as a school site and leaders. And I think it starts with building trust, community, and listening to our students and families.
Thank you for your response. We will now go to the next question, starting with Mr. Montez again. What is the best way for a school board member to learn about the issues facing Morgan Hill schools and the possible range of solutions? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Sorry, I didn't catch part of that question.
I can repeat it. The question was, what is the best way for a school board member to learn about the issues facing Morgan Hill schools and the possible range of solutions? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Great. I think first and foremost, as trustees, one of the ways in which we can go about learning about issues is engaging with the community. And then, but also recognizing that it takes a lot of effort to engage our community in terms of making sure that we're able to engage with them in a way where they can share their true selves with us and their true experiences. What's important here is speaking with students, recognizing, and as a unified school district, I think we have a tremendous experience to reflect on the educational trajectory of students from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade and learn from that experience. Learn and listen. And so I think first and foremost, it's engaging stakeholders, having conversations with students, having conversations with families at the school site, being visible, engaging teachers in conversation so that we can engage in inquiry, listen, and through that surface some trends that can inform how we go about making decisions in the best interest of those that we serve. And I think as trustees and as elected officials, it's our responsibility to engage our community in conversation and listen.
Thank you for your response. We will now go to the third question, starting with Ms. Teresi. If you are elected, how do you plan to go about building relationships with other school board members so that the board can work together to achieve common goals? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you. A lot of the board members I already know, not all of them, I will admit, I don't know all of them, but with being in this community and going to the store and going to the schools, I volunteer at the Via Miramonte with third graders. So some of the parents have brought their children to there, and so I've seen some of them there or met with some of them there, and I am actively involved in the community. And like I said, and I do know some of the board members. And you work as a team. You always work as a team, and in order to do that, you need to build relationships. You build relationships by sometimes with doing team building activities, which whenever you go to a workshop, they go, "Oh no, not that." But you know what? Those do work. And so just working with the board members, getting to know them and working with them, seeing them in the community, out at the grocery store, at church, wherever, all those interactions can happen. And you take advantage of those moments to get to know your fellow board members and work together as a team to get things done, because it's all about getting the things done for the students. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Montez, the same question to you. If you are elected, how do you plan to go about building relationships with other school board members so that the board can work together to achieve common goals? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Thank you for the question. I think it's an important one. And I've been fortunate enough to build relationships with our current board members and have been fortunate enough to earn their support in my candidacy here. I agree. I think a lot of our work as board members representing our community is working together, finding those common interests where it overlaps. But then I think there's a power in a collective. We all bring important perspectives to the work as a community, and it's about leveraging those strengths from each other to learn from each other to ensure that we're constantly staying true to our mission and vision, which is serving our students, providing the best quality education for our community. And with that, it's a team. It's a team effort, working together. And I think a lot of it is listening from everyone's experiences. What I've learned as a teacher and as a principal is that we need each other. Everyone has a unique organizational and institutional vantage point which we need to leverage in education, we need everyone. And so as a collective, it's making that effort to value everyone's perspective and learn from each other so that when we move forward, we're moving forward together strongly.
Thank you for your response. We will be tracking back to the second question. So Ms. Teresi, this is for you. What is the best way for a school board member to learn about the issues facing Morgan Hill schools and the possible range of solutions? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Could you repeat that last part? I didn't catch it again.
Absolutely. I can restate the question.
Thank you.
What is the best way for a school board member to learn about the issues facing Morgan Hill students and the possible range of solutions? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Okay, again, being out in the community, being involved in the community, going to activities, going to the schools when they reopen, going to the schools. And as I said before, I volunteer at the museum with the Gamma Alpha. We do a third grade field trip. And so I get to see third graders. As soon as that reopens too, when we all get back to whatever normal is, the third graders come in and I do a kitchen presentation with them, and we make cookies, and they go into the tea room and have the tea and cookies that they've made and do the Centennial Trail. And that's one way to get involved with the community, by doing community activities, being there and getting to know the students, getting to know the parents, by being active and going to the plays here in town and getting to know your seatmate, all those things. And when you do those things, people begin to talk to you. And I know when I was working, I would oftentimes be out on the playground, and people come and talk to you. And they talk in front of you because they don't pay attention to you, but they also come and talk to you and share things with you. So if they see you as more than just an authority figure, as someone they can share things with, that's how you find out what the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. We will now go to the fourth question, starting with Mr. Montes. How do you go about changing people's minds when they want to do something that, due to your experience, you believe won't work or waste money? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I think it goes back to being willing to engage our community and listen. And I think first and foremost, I go back to everyone brings a valuable perspective. And here we're talking about serving our community and serving our students. And it's such an important task. And with that, we have an obligation to listen to each other with an open mind, learn from each other, from everyone's perspective. And so I see it more so as approaching things with an inquiry stance, making sure that we have an open mind and are able to listen and come together and engage in dialogue to learn from each other, and being willing to have that openness and trust, knowing that we all want what's best for our students, but we might not always agree on how to go about that. And so it always goes back to, what is it that we want? And I think most people can agree that we want the best possible education for our students. So starting from there, and then engaging in conversation. I think we owe it to our community to approach things with an open mind, learn, and recognize that our community is constantly evolving. As a principal dealing with the pandemic, it's unprecedented. And what we thought was best foot forward 2 months ago has evolved. And I think it's constantly being willing to have conversations, and conversations that I've had as a teacher and as a principal.
Thank you for your response. We will now go to the next question for Ms. Teresi. How do you go about changing people's minds when they want to do something that, due to your experience, you believe won't work or will waste money? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Well, working together, listening. You always have to listen, and listen with an open mind. I was a negotiator for 12 years and a union leader during that time also. And sometimes you have to compromise. You have to become a team. And to do that, you have to listen. You have to listen with an open mind and an open heart. And sometimes, it's a hard thing. compromise is a hard thing because nobody likes to hear the word no. And sometimes the answer is no, but preferably you get to a point where everybody gets a little something of what they need and want. And you have to do that by becoming a team, working together, developing and getting a rapport going where you can listen to each other and try to understand where the other viewpoint is coming from and helping them to understand your viewpoint, and then sit down, work together saying, our common goal is what is best for the students, for the children of this district. They're the number one thing that we need to be worrying about now. And how are we going to reach a conclusion that satisfies both of us, maybe not completely, but partially, so that the children always come first. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Sorry about the little screen share mishap.
That's okay.
We will be asking the final question for this segment, and we'll start with Mr. Montes. What are your ideas about what to do to provide long-term support of students, parents, and teachers who are being educated in virtual classrooms? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
Absolutely. I would say that as a principal, I'm fortunate to see this reality firsthand, be in the virtual classrooms and see how it's impacting our students, our parents, and our community. What we see is that it's impacted the way our younger kiddos who some of them haven't even made it to their school physically, and how they're engaging with their colleagues. And what we've seen is that there's a high need to address the social emotional support of students, as well as the families and the educators who are working with them. Distance learning is very challenging. It's tough. And I feel like now we need to continue to work with our families to ensure that we are meeting their needs during this time. This is why I've worked to provide learning pods on my school site, because I recognize that distance learning doesn't work for everyone. And we have a responsibility to our community and our students and our families to ensure that we're providing them the best possible education. And so continuing to engage our families, to learn what some of the barriers may be to access their education, but then making a commitment to do everything we can to serve them as we move forward together in this unprecedented pandemic.
Thank you. We will now be asking the same question to Ms. Teresi. What are your ideas about what to do to provide long-term support of students, parents, and teachers who are being educated in virtual classrooms? Your time of 90 seconds begins now.
I do understand this situation. I have 2 grandchildren, one in high school, one in 6th grade, and I have a granddaughter that is also a teacher. So I get it from both sides, from the teacher side going, this is really difficult. And a lot of my friends are still teaching. And I get it from my grandchildren going, this is really difficult. And it is difficult. And if you have the wherewithal to have good internet, a good hotspot or whatever, you're great. But there are families in our district and in other districts who internet service is an issue. And so continue working to get hotspots and Chromebooks out to all of our students, and a good hotspot where children can sit and work. I saw in the news just recently where in Salinas, these kids are sitting outside of a Taco Bell accessing that Wi-Fi. Children shouldn't have to do that. We should be working to provide children with a good hotspot in their home or in their library or as a learning pod like they do at Cecilia's Closet. So those are the kinds of things that I think we need to do is, we have to, above all, keep our kids safe, keep our family and community safe and healthy, follow the protocols. But we need good hotspots, good access to the internet and to the programs that the children need. Thank you.
Thank you for answering our questions, both candidates. We will now be hearing our closing statements, starting with Ms. Teresi. You have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. As I said earlier, I have lived and worked in Morgan Hill since I was 14 years old. So that's a really long time because it was 1965. And I worked for 34 years within the school district, and half of that time in a leadership capacity in my union, where I worked on budgets. I worked on a budget when things were good, and I worked on the budget where we as a team came together and solved a budget deficit where we had to cut $6 million. And we did it because we worked as a team. And I know that I can do this because I am a team player. I can work with this and get this done. I'm still involved in the community with Gamma Alpha, who provides scholarships for children going into education, and Babies for Books and tutoring at the Children and Boys Club. So staying active, being involved. I think I'm the best candidate, and I hope I can count on your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teresi. Our last candidate to give a 1-minute closing statement for this segment is Mr. Montes. You have 1 minute, starting now.
Thank you so much. I'm running to represent you because I love Morgan Hill and I'm passionate about education in our community. I care. I have the experience as a teacher, as an instructional coach, as a district administrator, and now as the proud principal at an elementary school. I was born and raised in Santa Clara County, and I am so thankful for the caring community members and teachers who supported me along the way. And it's this that drives me to give back to our community to ensure that we work together to provide our students the best possible education so that they can actualize or achieve the goals that they set for themselves. And the decision that you have ahead of you is not one about who got here first, but one about who's the most qualified to to provide the best possible future for our students. And I believe I'm that candidate to represent you and to work with you to build the best possible future in education for our students and community.
Thank you both candidates for your responses. We will switch this around 1 second.
Sorry about that.
On behalf of the AAUW Morgan Hill branch, we would like to thank all the candidates who participated in tonight's forum. We will now have a short break, and at 7:45, we will begin part 2 of our forum with candidates running for Morgan Hill City Council District seat. Thank you, both candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.